Let me explain this very quickly because I want to maybe be able to we can clip this later and help people understand the magnitude. 2,000 years ago was Christ. 250 years ago was the birth of America. And in 3 months we're going to have the 250th year celebration. So we have a nation that was born on a document that said on this piece of parchment before these 56 men signed this piece of paper, this is a declaration, a love letter to God, recognizing first and foremost all of our rights come from God in heaven, the Father. They are unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We're permissioned with these rights. We don't have to ask for anybody for permission to live our life as free agent, sovereign individuals that are sons and daughters of God. Okay? These 56 men signed this document. That's our birth certificate. To be a nation, you have to have laws, you have to have a border, you have to have a government, and you had to have a treaty signed in order to separate from the Queen in England. Well, this document served as the lawful document stating our independence and separating from the Queen that are sons and daughters of God. Okay? These 56 men signed this document. That's our birth certificate. To be a nation, you have to have laws, you have to have a border, you have to have a government, and you had to have a treaty signed in order to separate from the Queen in England. Well, this document served as the lawful document stating our independence and separating from the Queen. But in this document, the only lawful authorities that existed in America was the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the Army, Navy, and the Marines. So why do I bring that up? In this document, the birth certificate of America, the Declaration of Independence, there's a little clause in it that says, but when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces to a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it's their right, we the people's right. It is also our duty to throw off such a government and to provide new guards. So, if our country was hijacked and stolen by usurpers and infiltrated by people not of American origin, and they've hijacked our government, the only way we are going to get rid of that usurping terrorist organization is through the military, because it was the military that underwrote that clause in our birth certificate that says we the people have the right to get rid of them. And the commander in chief is the man that would get rid of these people under that document. On my chart, that's why we're at war. We're not going to take a pew poll. We're not going to have an election. We're not going to fix the school systems and get everybody in America to vote, 51% to go to war with an invisible evil that controls the banking system and wants us all dead. This has to be a military operation, period. How did America, how did America get stolen? First of all, after the Civil War, look, we didn't have a constitution until 11 years after we signed the Declaration of Independence. So people don't realize what we governed as a nation for 11 years under the Declaration of Independence without a constitution. So from that point forward, the enemy was at work. The enemy was trying to pervert and divide and deceive and do their legalisms and their chicanery. Okay. The Organic Act of 1871 happens after the Civil War. America's broke. People are bloodied and dead and lying all over the battlefield. We didn't have any resources. We were broken financially and morally and every other way. So here come the venture capitalist sharks from London and the city of the Vatican City. They give us a deal. They promise all the money in the world, and all that the signers of this Organic Act had to do was sell their soul to Satan. And that's in essence what they did. From that comes the District of Columbia. which was not a part of the Constitution and never was a sovereign part of America. From then, in 1913, we go from the Organic Act to the Rothschild central banking system, which is Federal Reserve notes, as you talked about, which was their control system with debt slavery that they could issue money out of thin air, and it had nothing to do with gold or silver. So from 1913, and G. Edward Griffin talks about this is nothing but a cartel. This is a demonic cartel that took over our country, started printing money, created the IRS, created the income tax, bought the politicians, bought Pharmacia, bought the Department of Education, and here we go. Everything in the corporation is owned by London and the Vatican. The central bank is their bank, and they invade our country. In 2008, when we had the big financial crisis and the market shut down and everything collapsed, people don't realize that in January of 2009, right after that 2008 financial crisis, is when the white paper on Bitcoin came out. They already had a plan for a new system because they knew their old system was flatlined and dead. So they were going to replace it with a CBD type system, a Chinese digital architecture, scare everybody, have surveillance on a scale we would have never escaped had Hillary won. But she didn't. So they have been planning for this since they put Obama in office. The military has known about it. Trump was recruited to come in. Trump came in in 2008, and from in 2016,
yeah,
2015,
17 technically, yeah.
So he's invited in and recruited in, and he's been in there for 3 terms now as the commander in chief, 2 terms as the quote unquote president of the corporation that is basically defunct. And he's executing a war per the authority of the Declaration of Independence to get rid of the enemy combatants that have hijacked our nation. And if people don't understand that London and the Vatican and the central bankers are no more American than the Federal Reserve is American, then they're missing the whole plot. They don't understand what's going on. Could you put this in your words and tell me where you think I'm right or wrong or missing something here?
No, you're doing a good job. I mean, at the end of the day, this is Casino Royale for planet Earth.
Yes.
This is the biggest game in the history of the world. And it's
Yes.
not just for a country,
It's
it's for
all
the entire planet.
every nation. Yes, sir.